If manifestation feels hard, it's not because you're bad at it. It's because your nervous system is still wired for your old identity. Let's break down how identity is actually formed in the brain and how to change it so manifestation becomes automatic instead of effortful. Let's look at how identity equals repeated neural circuits. From a neuroscience perspective, identity is not who you are. It's who your brain has practiced being the most. Your brain runs on neural pathways built through repetition, emotional reinforcement, prediction loops. Every thought you think repeatedly strengthens a neural circuit, and every emotional reaction wires that circuit deeper. So when someone says, "I'm just not good at manifesting," what they really mean is, my brain has rehearsed struggle, waiting, and doubt thousands of times. Manifestation feels slow because the old neural identity is still dominant. Here is why visualization alone often fails. This is a key neuroscience truth. The brain does not rewire through thinking alone. It rewires through thought plus emotion plus action. Visualization without emotional embodiment creates weak neural change. That's why people visualize wealth, but still react emotionally like someone who lacks it. The nervous system believes emotion, not strictly imagination. So the question becomes, how do you emotionally embody a new identity before evidence exists? The crucial step 1, you need to interrupt the old identity loop. Before creating a new identity, you must disrupt the existing one. Your old identity is maintained by automatic emotional reactions, predictable internal dialogue, habitual stress responses. Here is a neuroscience-backed practice that you can try. First, catch your reaction. Don't just look at your thoughts. Instead of trying to stop negative thinking, interrupt the body response. You might notice things like a tight chest, shallow breathing, jaw tension, or urgency. These are signals the old identity is firing inside of your nervous system. When you pause and regulate your breath by slow, nasal, extended exhales, you're telling the brain, this pattern is no longer needed. By doing this, you will create neuroplastic space. When you experience no space, there will be no change. The next step is to define your identity in behavioral terms, not your specific traits. Your brain does not change through affirmations like, "I am confident." It changes through predictable behaviors. Instead of traits, you need to define your identity as the person who responds this way. You can do this by viewing your new personality with these types of questions. I'm the kind of person who doesn't rush decisions. I'm the kind of person who expects things to work out. I'm the kind of person who self-regulates before reacting. These are action-based identities which the brain understands. Every time you act in alignment, even once, you begin forming a new neural loop. The next part of the process is the emotional rehearsal. This ultimately is the missing link and is where manifestation accelerates. Neuroscience shows the brain cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined emotional experience from a real one. But here's the key. You don't rehearse the outcome, you rehearse the emotional baseline. Instead of imagining a mansion, rehearse things like calm certainty, normalcy, and grounded expectation. Why would you do this? Let me explain. It is because high excitement equates to a future-oriented identity, whereas a calm familiarity equals your present identity. Manifestation responds to familiar states, not elevated ones that your brain can't readily accept as true. The next step you can follow is to collapse time through identity consistency. Here's what this means. The brain predicts reality based on past patterns. So if your identity is inconsistent, the brain remains skeptical. From a neuroscience term, it is like a prediction error minimization. This means your brain asks, is this who we are now or is this temporary? So consistency matters more than intensity. If you were to practice 10 minutes of daily identity embodiment, this would be 2 hours of emotional hype once a week. This next item is huge to remember. Stop looking for evidence. Looking for proof keeps the old identity alive. From the brain's perspective, seeking reassurance is living in a threat state, and being in a state of threat means you are standing inside your old wiring. New identities don't scan for validation. They assume continuation. When you stop checking for evidence, you lower your cortisol. You stabilize your nervous system. And you allow new predictions to take hold. This is why manifestation suddenly happens when people stop trying. Here is why building a new identity makes manifestation easier. Once your identity begins to change, your thoughts will align automatically. Your emotions begin to stabilize naturally. Your behavior starts to become congruent, and your reality adjusts without further effort on your part. Manifestation stops being a technique and therefore becomes a byproduct of your identity shift. This is why some people manifest without knowing anything about the law of attraction. It is simply because their nervous system already lives in the state they need to be in order to attract their desires. So here is a final reframe that is imperative to remember. You do not need more belief, you actually need less contradiction in your thoughts. The moment your nervous system accepts, "This is who I am now," then your reality has no choice but to expand into that experience.